Do you have what it takes to be in my team? You've got to have your FIFA game on point. Who's winning the tournament then?
I'm winning the tournament. I'm winning the tournament.
Come on.
Hi and welcome along to AFTV News Daily, the early edition. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are right about now in the world. Hope you guys are doing well today and ready, or getting yourself ready for when the football season returns, which is not long away now. Just over a week and a half until the season restarts. The season that was abruptly stopped in March because of the whole coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic, and will be returning. And of course, the Bundesliga, the Germans in typical style, they've been ahead of everybody, and they're back in action again today. Big game actually today. Looking forward to watching this one. Bayer Leverkusen with Kai Havertz, who's been tearing it up and really got everybody's attention, versus Bayern Munich, the machine. Really, really good team. They've been quality to watch. That should be a really, really entertaining game today. I'm really looking forward to watching that one. And over there in Germany, you know, there's, of course, they've returned back. And as I've been saying for quite a while, the Premier League are watching them very closely to see how they're getting on. And, you know, so far, they've delivered the products. They've, you know, not had a rise in cases. So it's been very encouraging. And they've got very strict rules around it. And Sancho has fallen foul of those rules. He got in trouble because he posted a picture on his Instagram of himself getting a haircut. So, you know, posted himself getting a haircut. Now, in Germany, actually, barbers have actually been open since May. So they have been able to, you know, people have been able to go and get their hair cut and get their hair done. However, you're supposed to wear a mask. The barber's supposed to wear a mask, and you, the person who's getting your hair cut, is supposed to wear a mask. Jadon Sancho, should I say, quite clearly there is not wearing a mask, and he's been fined by the Bundesliga for that. His initial reaction was he was very angry and said how it's ridiculous that he's been fined, but he deleted that post. But they got very strict rules around it, and they are sticking to those rules, and fair play to them. You know, these things are in place for a reason. They don't want to see a spark in cases, and they expect footballers to lead by example. And I think they're right in this case. So, but it's good to see that they've been back. They haven't had any problems so far, and hopefully the Premier League can follow suit, get our season completed behind closed doors, and then hopefully the next step will be to try and start getting fans back into the stadium, but that is still a distance away. Of course, we've got the fixtures through now for Arsenal and for the rest of the Premier League, but this is Arsenal's upcoming fixtures. You all already know, of course, about the fixture on June the 17th. Now, we've got the times and we've got who's going to be broadcasting it here in the UK as well. So on the 17th of June at 8:15 p.m, that is the kickoff for Manchester City versus Arsenal. Big game, our first game back. Followed 3 days later, remember, only 3 days later, because that City game is basically the game in hand that we had to play. 3 days later, we take on Brighton away. That's a 3 p.m. kickoff on BT Sport. Remember, that's the first ever 3 p.m. kickoff that's going to be televised in the UK. They've always had this strict rule on games at 3 p.m. on a Saturday cannot be broadcast because they want fans to go to the games. That will be broadcast. The following week, well, shall I say during that week, Southampton versus Arsenal on June the 25th. I think that's a Thursday. Followed by the next Premier League game is Arsenal versus Norwich City, July the 1st, 6 p.m. as well on BT Sport. So real different in times. It's one at 8:15, one at 3 p.m, two at 6 p.m. And of course, we're still in the FA Cup, an even earlier kickoff for this one. Arsenal versus Sheffield United, June the 28th at 1 p.m. So those are the fixtures coming up. They come thick and fast, as you can see there, rattling through the fixtures. And as I've sort of said, you know, will it benefit the teams that have got big squads? Will it benefit the teams that are used to playing a couple of games a week like Arsenal are used to doing? So it's going to be really interesting to see how it all pans out. But it is coming back, and we will be there very soon. Now, also linked to Max Aarons today. Max Aarons, of course, is a kid that's been getting the attention of a lot of people. Still only 21, so very young. And despite the poor season that Norwich have been having, or should I say difficult season, I don't think nobody expected them to tear up any trees. He's been kind of that standout player for Norwich, playing in the right-back position. He's done very, very well, and he's going to get better. You know, he's a young player that's going to improve. Now, Norwich, as we know, bottom of the league, in massive danger of relegation. You would have thought they are the absolute favourites to go down right now, and could be forced to sell Max Aarons. Relegation for Norwich could cost them up to £30 million. And it seems like that's the fee that Norwich want for Max Aarons, around about £30 million. Whether they go down or not, they're saying that, you know, that was the sort of money that they want for him. Now, whether they get that in this pandemic, I very much doubt it. I can't see, with all what's going on at the moment, maybe Chelsea, but Chelsea don't need a right back. They seem to be the team that's still spending at the moment, but then because they had that transfer ban. But it's going to, I think Norwich would find it difficult to get this amount of money for Max Aarons. I do think he'll be on the move this summer. But where to? That is the question. Now, Arsenal said to be interested, but are not willing to pay £30 million for Max Aarons. Tottenham are interested. There's a whole host of clubs that are interested in Max Aarons. But it's going to be really interesting to see where he does end up, how that fee will work out. Will that fee drop? But Arsenal said to be unwilling at the moment to pay that fee. Also got to ask you guys a question. Do we need Max Aarons? You know, got Hector Bellerin there. Is he going to be good enough to fill that position for you guys? There's been rumours saying that he wouldn't mind a move. There's been other rumours saying he wants to be the captain, a real conflicting. Then, of course, you know, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, should we keep hold of him? You know, there's that Jordan Asu Tutu who's playing over there in Germany, on loan at Bochum, I think it is. Should we bring him back? He can play in the right back position. So it's going to be really interesting to see, do we move to try and improve that position? I almost forgot, of course, we've got Cedric, who we bought in January, right? Who's yet to play. I'm sure we'll get to see him. He's been talking a lot about how he's been enjoying training and he's really, really looking forward to playing. He's fit now. Could he be the answer? You know, do we have the answer right there? And then, you know, that's the competition for Bellerin, and we don't need another right back. Going to be really, really interesting to see. Also, yet again today, linked with this Turkish player, Erkan Tokkoçu of Feyenoord. Now, according to reports coming out of the Turkish media, Arsenal are close to a deal for him. That's what they're saying. Whether that's accurate or not, who knows? But that's what they're saying, that Arsenal are close to a deal for Erkan Tokkoçu. Of course, he's a midfield player, creative midfield player. We all know that our midfield needs improving. We all know that, you know, long term, we need to be looking for a replacement for Mesut Ozil. And could this guy be that replacement that we are looking for? Certainly, though, the rumours keep hotting up about Erkan Tokkoçu. And we're linked to a young Swedish starlet today. His name is Armin Gigovic. He plays for Helsingborg. He's only 18, but he's very, very highly rated over there in Sweden, regarded as one of the finest young talents in Swedish football. Arsenal said to be very, very interested in him. Manchester City interested. I know that Wolves were looking at him heavily in January as well. He's a defensive midfielder. He's only 18. But as I said, in Swedish football. He's one of the talks at the moment. Valuation said to be anything from 2 to 3.5 million pounds. So he wouldn't cost a lot of money. Obviously, at that age, he's probably going to be a player that you bring in and you develop him. You know, he's probably not going to be a player that's just going to jump straight into the first team. You come in and you probably develop him. But Arsenal said to be looking at him very closely. And as I said, very, very highly rated at the moment over there in Sweden. Now, Mohamed Elneny, we've spoken about him quite a lot recently. And as you know, he's on loan with Besiktas. I've spoken to you guys about the dispute that he's been having with Besiktas. So he's been having a good season for Besiktas, but they haven't paid his wages recently, which is obviously, as any player, as any human being, that's going to get you really, really angry, especially when he's owed the amount of money that they're saying, which is something between 600,000 to 1 million euros. That is a lot of money owed. So he's currently in a dispute with them. Well, Olympiacos are said to be very, very interested in Elneny. Now, Elneny, of course, is on loan. His loan is up at the end of this month. And there's a lot of talk that he might just, you know, terminate it. You know, the season in Turkey starting back as well, but he's talking about he might just terminate the deal and just go back to Arsenal, which then would make him available to clubs. And as I said, Olympiacos are interested in him. Now, when he went to Besiktas, he had inserted into that loan deal an option for Besiktas to buy him for £16 million, which would represent some profit for Arsenal because we only paid about 5 million for him. But very unlikely. I mean, they can't even pay his wages, so very unlikely that they're gonna take that option. So a strong possibility that maybe Olympiacos could be the team where he's heading to this summer. So we're gonna have to wait and see how that one pans out. Certainly, I can't see Mikel Arteta bringing him back into the fold. I do think that he is going to be somebody who is going to be sold. Let's get into some of your comments. And straight there, Jack Ryan says, I have nothing against Elneny. However, I feel he isn't good enough for Arsenal, and we should try to move him, I feel. Stephen says Tutu has been doing well in Germany, and I think he's ready for the first team Arsenal football. Again, as I said, he's over there on loan. I know he's in the Bundesliga, the second division of Bundesliga, but he has been playing well. And could he be an option to bring back? Ankit says, bin Bellerin and Ainsley Maitland-Niles and get Aarons and Cedric. Wow. So he wants to change up everything in that right back position. Guna Gamer TV says, Stan, where is the cash injection? Robbie, you think we'll get it? All of these players we're linked to with thoughts. I don't hold out a lot for that. He did, in fairness to Stan Kroenke, last season, he did push out the boat on transfers, but this is a time where, you know, it's going to be really tough. Will he put in some of his own money? I very much doubt it. Mark Gatti says, let's face it, any players that's going to put in a shift for 90 minutes would be a good replacement for Ozil. So he's not obviously not an Ozil fan. Lil Wayne Lowe says, hi, Robbie. We're getting linked to everyone, left, right, and centre, and we never buy. We need to focus on Partey and remove some centre backs. I think that Cedric is good enough. Focus on Aubameyang signing that thing. And of course, we keep forgetting we're not at the end of the season yet. We're not at the end of the season yet, but he's right. We're getting linked with everybody. Interestingly, that yesterday there was claims that Partey would be willing to force a move to Arsenal, that he really is keen on Arsenal. So it's going to be that again is going to be another interesting one to watch come this summer, or should I say when the season finishes. John SC says, I would actually keep Ainsley because he's a good right back. But if his attitude ain't right, then sell him and Bellerin and bring in Aarons. Aarons, as I said, would be very expensive at 30 million. Quite a lot of money. Marcel Smith says, Robbie, I've watched Asai Tutu since football started back. Botcham's best player, but they have been playing him on the wing, and he has looked good there. Another good headache for Arteta. Always good to see when a player is going out on loan and starting to do well, because, you know, not every player embraces loan moves. You know, you get players that go over out on loan. Some of them really embrace it and really give it a go and aim to impress and think to themselves, you know, if I do well here, even if it don't work out for me at Arsenal, I could get a move somewhere else. Then you've got other players that are like, they don't embrace it. You know what I mean? They whinge and they moan and they feel that, you know, what am I doing here at a club like Bochum when I've been at Arsenal and I've had all the best facilities and stuff like that? Why am I here? You know, so it's always good to see when a player goes out on loan and his attitude is good. And that's going to take him far. Matt Laguna says, Xhaka is crap, Elneny is worse. It was not a great fear for Elneny. Ian says, just get rid of Elneny, he's not good. It does look like Elneny will go this summer. Where to is going to be the interesting thing. As I said, Olympiacos, very interested in him. Ashatush says, hi, hello, Robbie. News coming from Arsenal training centre. Lots of youngsters Arteta is promoting to the Arsenal first team training. Latest is Swanson, a young right back. Is that the end of Bellerin? We have Cedric as well. I've seen a lot of this where people, newspapers, everybody like, oh, this player's been promoted to first team training. That means he's in and that player's out. And it don't work like that. It don't work like that. All the time in training of all clubs, young players get promoted up for certain games, then back down. Then, yeah, I mean, that happens all the time. I think people sometimes are looking too much into that. It's a bit like pre-season. I mean, look how many young players are playing with first team players and you know, and this is a bit like a pre-season, right? But that doesn't mean that come when things start back on the 17th that those players will be playing in the place of other players. I think, you know, a lot of that again is ways of making stories in a time when there's not a lot of stories about. Ian Hibbert says, do you think that Arteta puts faith in the current squad? That he will lose his job as a head coach? I think I've read that wrong. Do you think if Arteta puts faith in the current squad that he will lose his job as head coach? No, I mean, I've said this many a times. He's the head coach. Remember that title, head coach. It's different to back in the day when he's manager and you've got to buy players. And head coach. Coach these players and get the best out of them. That is your job when you come in. So he's going to have to put faith into some of that squad. Obviously, he's going to want to change up that squad and bring in some of his own players. But at the moment, yes, he has to put a lot of faith in that squad and get the very best out of them. John B says, Robbie, did you say good season? What is a good season for Elneny? Passing the ball sideways and back the whole game. Laugh out loud. I'm just saying that he's played well over there. Those are the reports coming back from Turkey that he's been having a good season for Besiktas. I ain't gonna lie, I haven't been watching him play. You know, we don't really get coverage of Turkish football over here in the UK. But those are the reports of that he's been playing very well. Besiktas were talking about wanting to sign him, but you want to sign him, you've got to pay him. You know? You're not paying some of their wages, they're going to want to sign for you, are they? Daniel Smith says, Robbie, we spent 470 million in 4 to 5 years. We spend money on useless players. Not all of those players have been useless. Aubameyang, we spent a big chunk of that money on, and Lacazette, we spent a big chunk of that money on. So, you know, not all of that money has been wasted. I think the bigger problem with Arsenal, right, is not the money we've spent on players. And listen, we have bought some players that ain't been worth that. You know, he's 35 million on Xhaka. He's not produced it in all the time he's been here. in my eyes, on a consistent basis to justify that fee. 35 million on Mustafi, you know, right? So we have spent, but then even what I feel is the worst thing is that, you know, we've allowed so many good players to go for nothing. So we've not been able to reduce that gross spending. Indanil says, hi, Robbie. I believe we should sell Bellerin only if we get Max Aarons or Ashraf Hakimi. Otherwise, don't sell him. We should sign Cedric anyway. We have 2 right backs that way. Yeah, listen, I still want to see what Bellerin does when the season resumes. I think it's quite a big period for Bellerin. From now till the end of the season, he's under a lot of pressure to put in good performances. He's also under a lot of pressure because Cedric's now here, who's a proper right back. He's not like Ainsley Maitland-Niles who's filling in. He's got competition from a proper right back. And if Cedric comes in and starts playing really, really well, you know, the hierarchy at Arsenal, you know, Edu and those guys might look on it and think, well, you know what? We get quite a lot of money for Bellerin. He's got 3 years left on his deal. Still a decent age, you know, he's only like 25. We've got Cedric here. You know, we could bring in another right back who's younger. You know, Bellerin's under a lot of pressure, I think, from now till the end of the season to really put in some performances. And it's not just Bellerin. It's quite a lot of players in that squad that are going to have to step up. Prajual says, do you think Guendouzi and Torreira pairing can work as holding midfielders if we can't get Partey? Well, it hasn't really worked this season, has it? And I've not really liked when that pairing of Guendouzi and Torreira. It doesn't seem to. If anything, I prefer the pairing of Xhaka and Torreira. So no, I think, you know, we need better there. Best in the world one says, hey Robbie, did you see the picture of Cedric with a face mask? Back again with injuries. Can't make this up. I did see that picture with him with a face mask on, but we don't, you know, I mean, he's still playing, isn't it? It's just, that injury's not stopping him from playing. He could have got a bad knock, you know, a clash in training or whatever, and he's just wearing it for some extra protection. So again, can't read too much into it. He's still training. That's the main thing. Igo says, why was it easy for Chelsea to grab Werner and hard for us to grab Upamecano? The answer is money. That's what it is. They put the money on the table. That's what it is. They put the money on the table. And when you put the money on the table, that makes things a lot easier. You know, when you ain't putting the money on the table and you're like, you know, but they put the money. I think he had a buyout clause as well, and they're meeting that. So the money's on the table. Richardson John says, Jack Grealish or Kai Havertz, Don Robbie. For me, I'd go Kai Havertz. I mean, I know I like Grealish, and I think he's a very, very good player. That Kai Havertz really excites me as well. I just think that he's going to be something really special, but I can't see him coming to the Premier League. I can see him ending up at the team he's going to be playing against today, which is Bayern Munich. Like, he's quality. Alexander says, Robbie, do you rate Hector Bellerin? I do rate Hector Bellerin. I think there's areas that I'd like to see him improve on. I think his crossing is not good enough. And I think he's sometimes defensively, he gets caught out. You know what? When he was sort of bursting on the scene, he was a very, very talented player. And there's still, you know, you saw that goal he scored at Chelsea. There's still, he's a quality player, but he needs to quickly show everybody that again. You know, this is football, man, and football's dog eat dog. And, you know, you drop off for a little bit. We're seeing it this season with Lacazette, player of the season last season. If you'd asked anybody last season, not one fan would have said sell him. This season, fans are like, you know what, move him on. Let's bring in Werner. Let's bring in this. Let's bring in that. Because he's had a bad season. So it's the same for every player. And I think it's the same for Bellerin. He has to put it in from now till the end of the season. Been very unfortunate to be out for a long time with injuries. I want to see what he can do under Mikel Arteta. And I think the competition of him having Cedric there is good, because that's going to make him know that he's got to perform, or he's not going to get his place back in the team. Remember, Cedric, from the sounds of it, was sort of a deal that was really sanctioned by Arteta as well. So it's Arteta's guy. So Bellerin's really going to have to perform. Amar23 says Ziyech for 33.6 million, Werner under 50 million, 175 million pounds by selling flops. Did the FA feel so bad about Chelsea's transfer ban that they allowed them a week to make up for it? Listen, 175 million for selling flops. They sold Eden Hazard, and do you know what? As good as Ziyech is, he's nowhere near a Hazard. So, you know, yes, it's looking good that they've brought these players in. You have to wait and see how they get on. But certainly Chelsea making big moves at the moment. Kwan says, Robbie, hello from Malaysia. In your opinion, Max Aarons and Hector Bellerin, who's the better player right now? If Hector Bellerin leaves, Max Aarons is a good replacement. Right now, you'd have to say Max Aarons is playing the better. Right now, at this moment in time, he's bursting onto the scene. When Hector Bellerin burst onto the scene, he was a quality player. He's had injuries that have set him back. But right now, of course, you'd have to go for Max Aarons. Andrew CFC says, Robbie, you deluded to think that Bellerin is quality. CFC, Chelsea fan, eh? Still hurt about that goal that Bellerin scored past you. Richardson John says, Partey with Torreira or Partey partnering Xhaka, Don Robbie. Partey with Torreira sounds good. I like that. I like the sound of that. I just fear, though, that if we did get Partey, I think we could see Torreira leaving the club to make way for him coming in. That's what I think would happen if Partey comes in. I can't see Partey coming in and then we still got Xhaka, we still got Torreira. I just can't see the club doing that. Tom Snack says, hey, Robbie, did you hear the rumour that Arsenal are interested in Husman Orere? They're in a bidding war with Man City. Hope that we will get it if we're in a bidding war with Man City. Well, we know that's only going to end up one way. Orere again is a very, very talented player. He's been playing brilliantly over there in France for Lyon, but it'd be very expensive. Erkan Kokcu, of course, would be a much cheaper alternative. I've not seen enough of Kokcu, but that is a player that Arsenal obviously very linked with very heavily, and would be a lot cheaper. Ishmeet says, Don Robbie, I think we should sell Torreira to get Partey. Torreira is world class. We should not sell Torreira. Sorry, we should not sell Torreira to get Partey. Torreira is world class. Torreira is not world class, not yet. He's a very good player. He's an international player that's done well internationally. But let's have it right. He's not performed consistently for Arsenal. Now, is that because he never seems to get played in his right position, doesn't get enough game time? I don't know. But certainly from what I've seen so far, you can't say Torreira's world class. He's a good player and he's got a lot more to prove. Again, another guy who's got to go out there and start proving it on the pitch. We all like him and that, but we've got to start seeing it more. Gus has sent me about 5 messages saying Mustafi out, so he's not very happy with him. Asher 2 says, hello, Robbie. People just forget what happened yesterday. Yesterday's hero can be the villain for today. Bellerin was the fastest and best right back in Europe, was running past Alaba and making him look nothing. Yeah, man. It's a while back, man. Even the speed thing. He doesn't seem to be, when I've seen him play recently, I've not seen that turn of pace when they used to say he's the fastest player at the club. And that I've not seen that recently. Has he lost a bit of the pace because of injuries? I don't know. Clayton says, hi, Clayton here from South Africa. Saka, not part of our squad on our website. Any thoughts? Well, I haven't seen that, but I wouldn't read too much into that. You know, there's been Saka's been in training and stuff like that. That's the most important thing. I'd rather see him training than not on the website. So I wouldn't read too much into that. Calvin says, hi, Robbie. I hope we keep Ceballos. Under Arteta, he's been playing really well, especially with all those rumours about Torreira leaving. And of course, Ceballos is still an Arsenal player until the end of the season. And what, again, another for him as well. How's he going to finish the season? You know, how? Be really interesting to see what he does. And I know he's been saying wants to go back to Real Madrid and that, but Real Madrid financially, will they be able to afford to bring him back? Will they send him back to Arsenal on a further loan? Will Arsenal need him? Because the one thing with Ceballos, no goals. There's been a lack of goals from midfield. That's been very disappointing. Bradley says, if we can get 40 million for Bellerin, you shake their hand off and take it and invest it elsewhere, then make Cedric permanent on a free transfer. Well, no one's seen Cedric play yet. Let's wait. If it was me, I'd be saying I am waiting till the end of the season. I want to see who does what now in these last few games. It's critical. These last 10 games or so, who does what? Esme said we should go all out to sign Havertz. He can play as a CAM and on the wings. He's a great player. But I can't see us getting him because of the price. I think he'll end up at Bayern. Psycho says, morning, Robbie. Have you seen Arsenal and Brentford possibly playing a friendly? Could be our chance to scout Benrahma. Benrahma's a very good player. I've been very impressed when I've seen him play. I'm going to do a couple more. Edward says, hi, Robbie. When a player plays for his country and his team is world-class, it depends on the lens you use to look at a player. I think he's talking about Torreira. Are Uruguay a world-class team? Yeah, they've got, you know, Suarez. They've got, you know, Cavani. They've got a host of very good players. They are a very, very good team, and he plays very, very well in that team. Well, I've not seen that for Arsenal. I don't really care what he does. You know, quite bluntly, I don't really care what he does for Uruguay. Yeah, I want him to do well for Uruguay, but I don't really care. Right? I'm not Uruguayan. I'm an Arsenal fan. I want to see that when he puts on the Arsenal shirt, week in, week out, he's playing excellently. He's playing consistently. I don't see that right now. He's been okay. He's not been bad. He's not been brilliant. So that's not world class in my books. Best in the World one says, how would you compare Saka and Davies from Bayern? Oof, I think that Davies is an unbelievable player. One of the quickest players I've ever seen playing at the back. He's lightning. I saw him playing in a game the other day, and I think he gave the ball away, right? And then the player was like, had a few yards on him, and he got back and won and tackled him. He's so quick. He's so quick going forward. He's got a brilliant engine on him up and down the pitch. He is an unbelievable talent. However, we also have an unbelievable talent in Saka. Again, very quick, very skillful. I was watching again the other day when he done that little nutmeg move. You know, confident, can play at the back and forward. You know what? He's very similar to Davies. Davies is ahead of him right now because, you know, Davies, but Saka's got the potential to be as good as Davies. But you'd have to say at this moment in time that Davies is one of the best young players in the world right now. From what I've seen, he is unbelievable. But Saka, he can get there. Stephen says, hello from Australia. Once we get started, I'd say we have a solid 2 to 3 games. We'll get Aubameyang and Saka to sign. We need to show hunger. Yeah, and listen, that's the other thing. Saka hasn't signed a new deal yet. Why? Why has that not been done? Will it be when we start playing again that he signs? I don't know. But I certainly would like to see Saka sign a new deal. Alex says Aubameyang oozes class all the way. No Arsenal player wants him to go, but if he has to, please let him go overseas and to a Premier League rival. I don't think I thought the club I was fearful that he could end up in this country was Chelsea. I don't think he's going to go there. The only other club I think in this country that might buy him would be Newcastle. And I know that sounds crazy, but they do have the ability, Newcastle, to double his wages with these new owners when they do come in. So, and, if you're 31 and somebody says to you, well, what you want, 200, I'll give you 400, 500, it's very tempting. So money talks a lot. But I'm really hopeful that he stays. And I think Arsenal really need him. Arsenal really, really need him to stay. John Layett says Saka is similar to Gibbs when he broke through. No, I think Saka is better than Gibbs when he broke through. When Gibbs broke through, he was playing well, but not in comparison to what I've seen with Saka. The way he's come through. I mean, in games sometimes, like he's the go-to player. As an 18-year-old kid, he's been the go-to player in games I've seen in the Premier League, in games I've seen in the Europa League. He's been brilliant. He's so mature as well. No, way ahead of Gibbs when he broke through. Gibbs was like, you could see he was a young player, getting his head down, trying to, make his way, but he was doing okay. But Saka has been electrifying. Greg Football TV says, Robbie, good morning. Saka, Williams, or Chilwell? Laugh out loud. Well, the funny thing I keep saying about the Chilwell thing is that every time I speak to Leicester fans, and this guy says the same thing, Andre says, Ben Chilwell is so overrated, even Leicester fans say that. Every time I've spoken to Leicester fans, none of them seem to have a problem with him being sold. They're like, yeah, let's sell him then. They'll get the money in for him. I mean, it would take it tomorrow. If somebody's dumb enough to pay that amount of money for Chilwell, and I've heard that a lot from Leicester fans. So certainly when I've seen him play, he's looked good. He bombs up and down that wing. You look at him and you go, that's what I want to see in a right back. But I'm not watching him week in, week out to really study him. And the Leicester fans who do, that I've spoken to, have always said that he's not a great defender. Jake's KK says, hi, Robbie, what do you think of Prem at Dortmund? Very good player. Very, very, very good player. Again, that would be a great player to bring in at Arsenal, but would be very expensive. Lightning Ash says, Gibbsy was elite when he first broke in my opinion. If it weren't for his injuries, he would have been world class. He was absolutely electric. Don't get me wrong. Gibbs was very good. Did suffer from some injuries. I remember that game when he played, when he made that mistake when Ronaldo scored in the Champions League, and I was like, but he did do well. He did do well, and you're right, he did have injuries. But I just think Saka has been more exciting. The way in which he's come through. I think I'd give Saka the edge. Definitely. Right. Who am I going to get here for the last one? Gus says, announce Partey. Partey is announced. No, he's not. No, he's not. Listen, we'll be back this evening with another AFTV News Daily. Have yourself a fantastic day. And don't forget, the football is coming back soon. We're going to have great coverage of it here on AFTV. So keep your eyes out for that.